Hello, this is Cody Carlson doing Module 5 for AEP 858. This is my story. I put myself in the shoes of a building administrator. When I was thinking of this data, I thought about what was the information that I would have liked to know when I first came into this district. So that's kind of what I've gone off of. USD 428 of Great Bend is made up of 5 elementary schools, one middle school, and 1 high school. The total enrollment is around 3,000 people. We also have 2 private elementary schools that those students end up going to the high school. They just are not part of our elementary enrollment. At the high school, we make up the Class 5A classification. We're about a middle of the road 5A school with 874 students. Understanding who Great Bend is, we have a very low socioeconomic status compared to the state. That's just kind of who we are. We have to embrace that and understand where our students come from. We are at 62%, and the state average is about 50-50. If you look over to the line graph over here, this trend has increased. The gap of economic disadvantage has increased as the years have gone on, and that's just the trend that we're going at. Looking at our race and ethnicity, Great Bend is still a majority of their students are white or Caucasian, which is very comparable to the state average. Our second highest population group is made up of Hispanics, and then we have a very low diversity of everybody else. And if you look at the trend, the gap between Caucasian and Hispanics is starting to decrease and become more of a diverse population. With our Hispanic population, we need to look at our ELL students. We are above the state average with almost 30% of our students. If you look at the line graph, this in the last year or two has really increased. So we kind of got hit by that, and we have to start making a better plan, as we'll look into our testing later, of being able to have a solid ELL program to transfer those students over to out of the program. With those ELL students, to get out of the program, they need to take the CELPA testing. If they test and proficient, then they're out of it. Our scoring here in 2017 was very, very close to the state average, but I'd really love to see the proficiency get across there. We have 69% of our students are nearly proficient. I'd love to see them get to proficient and get out of the program, which would, I believe, help our testing. So now we know all of our demographics, and we kind of have a picture of what Great Bend is, and we have a huge issue with attendance. And that can be because of a majority of things, but education is not put to a very high standard in some of our homes due to their demographics. Some students are not forced to go to school. Some students have to go with their parents to the doctor's office or wherever for appointments to be the translator because of the ELL issue. Whatever the case may be, we have a high attendance issue, a large attendance issue with our high school. If you look at ours compared to the state, we are over 6 percentage points below the state average, especially at the high school. Our elementary schools don't have such a large issue with it, but we at the high school do. So now we got to look at how do we change that. If they're not here, it's hard for them to learn, and they keep getting behind. So now let's look at our math performance levels. First off, with these bar graphs, I have to complain that with the Kansas report card, I don't know how they sort them, but it makes no sense. We have building level 2017 at the top, but state level 2017 is at the very bottom, and then it's hodgepodge in between. I don't understand how they sorted it, but it's definitely not by dates. But anyway, that's my little rant. So looking at our building level compared to the state, state is at 67.64% at level 1, which is non-proficient. We have over half of our students at 60.45% at non-proficient. proficient, with um, barely any at the elite level, level 4. Um, so then you look down, and I've compared the ELL students to the non-ELL students just to see if there was a trend there. Well, we're still above 50% with our non-ELL students. So math is not a subject, I believe, that is affected so much by language, but just we have to do a way better job of teaching our math program, especially at the high school, because our district is doing a pretty good job. Our building is the one that's behind. Science looks a little bit better. We're very comparable to the state. I mean, we're still way a little bit higher than average, but we're better. We're below 50%. We always have 10% at that elite level. Our non-ELL students are still a little bit above state level, but below our building. And then our ELL students are a little bit higher at 57%. But being able to, that's why I'm saying we need to get those students out of the ELL program so that they have a better understanding so they can perform better in these testings. Then lastly, looking at our ELL performance levels, the state is at the very bottom. The building, 2017, is in the middle. We're at 50% with our ELA students, while our state is at a little under 30. 70% with our ELL students, while we're at 43% with our non. Still, that's another issue for me. We need to get over to the level 2, level 3, level 4s and get out of the red. Now, with those three struggling subjects, our Common Core subjects that play into the ACT score, now not every student does take the ACT, but of the students that do, we're very comparable to the state average, only by 1.3 points below. But still, this is great, Ben. I would love to get above the state average. I don't want to be average. Now, our jobs as administrators are to prepare them for life after high school, get them to graduate and to be successful. Well, if you compare our 83% to the state's almost 87%, we're around there. We would much rather have a 90% or higher graduation rate, but we understand there are certain things that we have to make available for our students since we have an attendance issue. I would be interested to see what the 5-year graduation rate or maybe the GED equivalent would be to see if it would improve, but that needs to improve as well. That needs to be a goal of ours. So now, looking at our issues, we've talked about the data. The data means nothing just collected. We have to look at it and we have to see where we go from there. We have to identify our issues first. Obviously, we have a huge attendance issue. Obviously, our math and English scores were our two lowest that need to really be looked at and be improved. If we can take care of these issues, we'll reach our goals of increased graduation rates, improved college readiness, and we want to improve that ELO program because we see the trend that's happening, and we want to improve that program so that I think we'll have a correlation with our improved test scores. That's our mission statement at the bottom. That's what we got to think of. Our mission is to educate and prepare all students to become responsible citizens and lifelong learners. Well, we have to get them to graduate. We have to teach them the proper things for them to be successful. And using this data and looking at it, I think we have motivation to be better now. That is it. Thank you, and have a good day.